Hello students, this is part 3 of the introduction to Java. In our last session, that is in part 2, we learned various types of integer types of data where we could store them, we could use them for storing as well as calculating. In this session, part 3, we are going to introduce ourselves to the decimal type of data, how they are stored and how you are going to frame a program on them. So let us go further ahead understanding the decimal data types, that is your floating point numbers. Technical term is floating point numbers. They are of two types, that is the word that we use, we call them as a keyword, the data type. There are two types, float and double. So we explore float side first. Float, when you use a keyword float, it has a memory size of 4 bytes, that 32 bits, and it has a data range of minus 3.4 into 10 to the power 38 to plus 3.4 into 10 to the power 38. And if you're storing a value as float, then you have to have compulsory f as a suffix, because the data has a decimal value. Both double and float has decimal. So for computer to understand which is the actual type, computer checks for the suffix. So in case the suffix is not given, computer automatically takes the greater size. That's why for float f is compulsory. For example, if I say float num is equal to 3.5 f, then f indicates to the computer this must be a float type value. Now float cannot take more than 6 decimal places. If I have a number greater than float, then I must use double. Double is another keyword, the data type, which is supposed to be the highest data type, which has a memory 8 bytes, reserved memory is 8 bytes, and that's 64 bits, and it has a data range is minus 1.7 into 10 to the power 38 to plus 1.7 into 10 to the power 38. Float double can take up to 15 decimal points. Now here the suffix is optional, that is you want you can apply, you want you can ignore also, which is D. For example, I have a number again 3.5. I can straight write num 3.5. If there is no number, no suffix is given, computer automatically puts it into the highest data types, that's D, automatically understood. Otherwise, if you want, you can apply 3.5D or a small d also. So this is how the data values are stored using the decimal, float and the double. Now let us see if you have to use this in a program, because programs can give you output in terms of decimal. So let's see how we are going to go ahead. So we go to the practical part of the program. So we close this, we've already done in the previous session, and we move on here. So our first data type, so we have taken the integer is done, we move on to the decimal. So suppose if I have to store a decimal value, so let us pick up here and I say here float. Now if I say float and I'm just writing a small number, say 2.5. Now if I compile this, I get an error message because I failed to write f. For computer, f is not there, it means automatically a double greater data type which cannot go into small, so I have to write f or a capital F. Now if I say this, it will run, and if I say I can also store this and use this. Now in the same case, if I write here double, okay, and I remove this, this will work, because anyway the number without suffix is considered as double, so I still get my output. And if I want, I can apply D, which will still work, no syntax error, and my answer is still there. So this is how we store a value and we apply it. So let us introduce ourselves with one of the program which is already given in your question bank. So I'll take you to the program which is already shown. So here is a program for circle which says write a program to store radius of circle as 4.5 and calculate and print area of circle, which is given as area is equal to pi r square, where the value of pi is given as 3.4. Now mathematically you can also take 22 upon 7. So suppose if I have to write this program, say write a program to store radius. So let us take a program where the name of class is circle, public static void main, which are your standard line. Now if I want, I can take 4.5 as a small number, 4.5 f. So the radius has been stored. I can write r, I can write radius up to one word. You should not worry. So radius. Now the program is saying also pi r square. So radius is already given, pi, which is 3.14. So in my program I have taken 22 upon 7. So I'll explore you with this. So we'll write 3.14 for the time being. So now it's a double value because logically this number is quite big, but we'll take 3.14. Now radius contains 4.5, pi is 3.14, and the formula says pi r square. So pi into r square, which is r into r. So I make computer pi value is p into r square, that's r into r. Because I have already stored r as 4.5, I shouldn't apply the number directly. I should take the number using a variable. So computer will store that, calculate that, and store in a variable area. Now we need to apply a message. So here is a message which is before the value and after the value. So this is going to print as it is, area of circle is equal to whatever the value calculated will get printed over here, and behind that I'm also joining, say, centimeter. So on screen when I compile, it will show me, let's go to the program and I run this, right click, void main, shows me area of circle is equal to, this is the calculated value, and this was the message which was joined behind. So this is how the output will look. So decimal value can be calculated like this. So if you look at this particular program, it has decimal values, though you could have easily taken here also double, not a problem. Here also you could have taken float, not a problem, but based on the value you applied a data type. Now let us go to the program section, the question section, and explore one more program. So we move on and we say here, so I have another program, write a program to store salary of a person as rupees 22,500. So this is an integer value, and calculate and print tax as 12% of the salary. Of the salary means whatever 12 upon 100 into salary, which is your formula. So how are you going to write this program? So let us move to the programming section. So let's close this and we take this programming section, and here is the program. So my salary, I have taken integer. I could have said S, cell, salary, up to one word, no problem. But since I have used S, that's my address under which 22,500 is stored. My tax, I can straight take tax as 0.12 into S. So whatever the S value into 12 upon 100 is 0.12. Alright, computer will calculate. So compile, calculation is done, right click, void main, and this is your answer. However, suppose, let's go back to the program. Let's say I want to store that rate and then calculate, then I would say press enter. I'll say rate. So I'm going to write down here double rate is equal to 12 upon 100, and I'm going to write down here instead of 0.12 R. So logically 12 upon 100 is 0.12 and R will supposed to be 0.12 into the S value computer will already do. Now when I do this and I run this program, right click and void main, I don't see that number, which is 2700. Now why is this? Let us evaluate. Now for that I'm going to take you, before I go into the program, I'm going to take you to the first the third program that we have done. So I'm going to remove all this to show you just one output, so it will make you understand. Okay, so 10 upon 2 is computer going to give me 5 there, which is okay because both are integer. But in computer, when you have both the values, if 10 upon 2 is 5, so if I say now, like what we did, 12 upon 100, so if I say this, logically it should print me 0.12, but it does not print, it says 0. That because when the values are integer, 12 upon 100, technically 12 upon 100 is 0.12. So 12 being an integer, 100 being an integer, in 0.12 the 0 side is an integer side. So what computer does, integer upon integer will take only the integer side of the answer, which is 0. So if you want the decimal point to be calculated, at least one of them should be decimal. So I say 12.0. Now this becomes a decimal, one of them. Computer will now give me 0.12. So if I want a calculation of a decimal answer, I must ensure that in my calculation at least one data type is decimal. Now if I apply the same thing over here, say copy from here, and I go back to my program and I apply here, say paste, then now it is 12.0. so technically 0.12. when I compile this, it shows me no error, and now my answer is again given. So this is how decimal data items are working. So I expect you all guys to do this entire exercise as your homework and practice at home. There are a lot of questions given along with this, and some of them questions are also given with the answers. Some of the questions you'll have to find the answer. Alright, so I hope you had a good learning experience. I will check your book when you come back for your session. Thank you.